homework and really thought about your customer needs and put them in a very clear, concise form, you may have actually changed your mind already about what your strategy is going to be and how you're going to respond to those. That's a great outcome. Nobody needs to know you're starting with plan number 2. But what we need to do now is make that plan of what is our strategic, thoughtful response to that customer need. In our first lesson in this module, we're going to look at a tool called a strategic map that lays out in one page the overall progress to go from where you are now to where you need to be to fulfill that business objective with a set of strategic steps. Share a couple quotes with you, get us started. First one comes from Dr. Stephen Covey, who said in his landmark work of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that we need to begin with the end in mind. That's great advice. I don't know who said the other one, but there's an old saying that says, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Both of these quotes point to truths that are going to be very important to us. We have to have a clear endpoint in mind, but we also have to develop multiple paths by which we could get there. This is going to be important to you for several reasons, but just to get you started, here are some of the things you can think about that might make it a different path. You may have different possible roles in the value chain. When I work with inventors, often they're choosing things between, am I just going to license it or am I going to form a company? That's a very different way to try and get the same objective accomplished, or at least those same world-changing events to happen. Sometimes the changes are a little more subtle than that. Some of the alternatives are, am I going to sell directly? Am I going to sell this online? Am I going to use a distributor? What kind of channels am I going to take to market? And there are other issues that have to do with what scale you're going to do the business at and what pace you're going to take to get there. Sometimes those depend on what the market needs you to do in order to establish a position, the business objective, that you have for yourself. We take what we already know, which is our overall business objective, and put it at the top of this simple timeline map. That is now our guideline. What are we going to accomplish and by when? Remember, we had to pick a time. Is it 5 years out? Is it 18 months or something in between? And what will we have accomplished in the market by that time? Write that down at the top. Now, you can make 3 copies, and your 3 different ways of getting there will each have a different label. Maybe you call it the direct sales approach. But whatever path you are now going to figure out, we're going to start with that objective and work our way backward to where you are now and space those major milestones across this timeline. The way I like to think about what is a strategic milestone, what's the difference between that and just the next goal I have? Well, if you can state it in strategic terms, it's going to tell you what you've accomplished and how that sets you up to do something that you couldn't do before. It is called a milestone for a reason. It's an important landing spot to take your business to the next level. What does that need to look like over a time sequence? That's your strategic roadmap. And we're going to do it for at least 3 times, because you need at least to think of 3 ways you could accomplish this objective. We can take you through a quick example. The company that's trying to protect our water supply, Nova Biologicals, has one of its approaches is called fully hands-on, where they build the company and do all the steps, all the sales, everything themselves. To accomplish that, you can see some of the steps that they were going to have to take over the 5 years. They're going to still start in Texas. They're going to grow from there. They have to think through what kind of a sales force, what kind of a manufacturing capability do I have to have when do I have to start marketing and understanding these different regional markets as they go from Texas to the whole world. Those are the landing zones that they have to follow if they take on this strategy. Now, I don't think they're going to take this strategy, and I put up the 3 choices that they considered: the fully hands-on, the one where they just simply license the technology, say, hey, we're not an equipment company, we're a testing lab, we'll find somebody else to take this and run with it, or something in between, where They manage the manufacturing, they manage the product development, but they work with a strategic marketing partner who already has access around the world. What you might be able to guess is that one of the barriers to executing a fully hands-on strategy is the amount of investment it takes to build a global sales force. That's a big job, and if there's a good reason to do it, by all means, do it. But like Nova, you have to think through what the implications are for each of these strategies. Once you lay out step by step, put them on the table beside each other, and are saying, okay, what is this going to require me to do if I do it this way, if I do it this way, or if I do it this way? Some of the things you have to think about include, what are the financial investments that this approach will require from me? Can I raise that kind of money? Do I have it already? What is the talent pool I'm going to have to draw on? Do I have those talents? Do I have those skills? Am I going to have to go, what kind of a team am I going to have to hire? What is the time requirement? Is that suitable for this opportunity? Can I get there fast enough by this approach? Well, as you put all those implications side by side and look at it, then we've got to answer two questions. And one is, what does this set of implications look like in comparison to the things that they say you need to do with what you know you're really good at? We want to work in areas where we already know we can do very, very well whenever that's possible. But the second thing is, what do these implications tell you and how do they compare to what this business opportunity needs? If it takes 5 years to do a fully hands-on approach and the market needs you to be that far in 3, that's a problem. These are the kind of things that you can now quickly identify that you couldn't do until you took the time to lay out these steps and put these 3 strategic plans in front of you. Once you've done that, the decision to which one you want to do usually becomes very obvious. So you got to pick one, and then you got to write down all the reasons why you picked that one, and be prepared to change your mind as you learn more. That's how this works. We keep building, validating hypotheses, making new decisions, updating everything we understand about the opportunity. Next time we'll come back and look at the whole issue of intellectual property, because no business can survive if everybody else can copy it and take advantage of all your hard work and you don't get paid for it.